2020 to order, and I'm going to ask for an adoption of the agenda.
Gary,
someone verbally adopt it, please?
I can.
And I can second it.
Can anyone hear me? Hello?
Oh, there's Rob.
I'm sorry about that.
Can anyone hear me?
Yep.
yes,
We
Rob,
can hear you, Gary.
I can't hear anyone, so can you hear me?
yes,
Yes, Gary.
Hello, anyone hear me?
Yeah, everybody can hear you. Nobody's talking. Motion accepted by Jackie and Nicole.
Okay, so who, okay, all in favor or those opposed? Okay, I'm back up. Can anybody hear me?
There we go.
yes,
Yep.
Okay, so adoption of the minutes of the special council meeting on March 26, 2020. Someone move that?
I can move.
Nicole, seconder.
Yeah, Jackie.
Jackie, seconder. All in favor?
Yep.
Motion's carried. Any business arising from the minutes of March 26th? Hearing none, I'm going to move on to announcements from the mayor. So just so everybody's aware, I just want to mention that the CAO and our management team are working on a financial analysis of the state of the city as a result of the COVID pandemic. And they'll present to the council for our consideration in the near future. So I just want to let you know, we're not ignoring the community. We're trying to figure out where we sit and be able to advise the community as we move forward as to what our expenses have been and if there's been any savings. So I'm going to now move on to staff reports, 11A, step code. So is there someone that would like to put that motion on the table, please?
Sure, I can. That the report titled BC Energy Step Code Notification dated March 24th, 2020, written by Marianne Wade, Director of Development Services, and E. Hartleen, Planner 1, be received for information.
Okay, is there a seconder for that motion?
Yep.
Rob, second. Okay, now we're going to go to verbal presentation. So Marianne, if you want to carry on with that.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is a report in regards to a follow-up from February 11, 2020, in regards to climate change and mitigation in Revelstoke that was presented to you. And this is also a follow-up from, believe it or not, about a year ago when we actually had a step code building workshop where we were first exploring the step code, and many of you may have remembered that. And Your Worship, I believe you attended that as well. So this report is to seek council support to advise the Energy Co-Council of the Energy Co-Council of the city's intent to consult and to proceed with the consultation process for the purpose of receiving input from the community on implementing the BC Energy in Revelstoke. And so in the report, we've given you some background in regards to what the step code process is and best practices for local government. It talks about how this meets the climate code commitment we have made to get to net zero. There's a graph in there that describes the step code 1, 2, 3, and 4 and types of construction build. It further on goes and talks about how we would comply with the levels of step code. And as part of this, it would be the introduction of an energy modeler who would energy model that would be presented by an energy advisor. who would submit a report in regards to the building permit application process. This report basically focuses on how this would be utilized in moving forward with the building permit process and the updating of the building bylaw to incorporate the level 1 step code, or it could be another level depending on what the discussion is with the industry and the community. As part of the process and moving forward to amend our building bylaws and any other bylaws, we need to provide notification to the council in order for us to proceed through the process. And once we go through the engagement process and council considers bylaws, then we would do the final notification, which then means the building bylaw would be effective with the step code 6 months after adopted by council. So basically what we're seeking from council today is there's 3 recommendations before you, and that we are recommending that staff advise the Energy Step Council, the Energy Step Code Council of the City of Revelstoke's intent to consult and reference the step code and to proceed with organizing public consultation for the purposes of receiving input from the community on implementing the Energy Step Code in Revelstoke. And what we are looking for is that you've noticed there's a timeline in there. We have future engagement process laid out after today's meeting, which we will go away and figure out alternatives given the current situation.
Great, thanks, Marianne. Just before we carry on, if there's any councilors that have questions, if you can unmute your mic. If you're not going to speak, please mute your mic. So council, any questions of Marianne at this point?
Your worship, I don't have any questions. I would just say that this is good. I was glad to see it in there. It's long overdue. I know that council identified it as a strategic objective, especially when Ms. Wade joined the team, which was almost like, holy cow, how long ago it's already been. But yeah, I think it's terrific. My only concern, which is always a concern, is what this does to the cost of building, more so affordability. You know, obviously costs always get passed on to the consumer, and we already have an affordability issue. So moving forward, I definitely support this. I think that this ties in well with the DCCs and looking at reductions there, as well as maybe trying to help, you know, maybe the city, the municipality, when it comes time, looks at incentives or helping buildings that would be built under step code that maybe are meant only for with land title covenants that Ms. Wade sometimes works with people on. You know, if it's somebody just building a home for themselves that is going to abide by this, that's great. But if there's any way we can help projects that are meant for those less fortunate than most of us are, then anything we could do to help there. But overall, I think this is terrific, and we need to be a climate leader.
Would you like me to respond to some of the points that you raised?
No, it's fine. Sorry, I just wanted to just comment because we're obviously not meeting in person or whatever, that I think this is great. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question just about what kind of staff resources this is going to take up to get everything implemented. Just if you have any idea if this is like a big undertaking for the department or if it's pretty seamless.
Through your worship, this has already been accounted for in the work plan for the climate coordinator, who's going to be working with us. And it was already part of the work plan for the building bylaw update. And it's also part of our work plan in updating the OCP and other bylaws. We have to incorporate this in.
Okay, sorry, I got disconnected partway through there. So any further questions from any members of council?
Yeah, just a follow up. So I guess if it's already included in the work plan, is that then the coordinator's sort of main focus is this undertaking, with there not being other not bigger, but other sustainability initiatives that she or he could be focusing on instead?
This has been part of her work plan that has been outlined for her, and I've worked with the Director of Engineering and Public Works on that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to echo Cody a bit there, that I'm just a little bit concerned about what it'll do to the cost of building. In my experience, a lot of this is a bit of greenwashing. It's a really nice idea, but it mostly is just a bunch of administrative paperwork and not always the most green sort of outcome. But I'm interested to see what it looks like, and we're not at the point of making any big commitments at this point, so it's good.
Any other comments from councillors?
Yeah, I've got a few comments and I think a question in here. So yeah, having listened to the presentation on step code to the environmental committee, I think, yeah, over a year ago, I'm excited to see where this takes us. I think there is some options, especially when it comes to DCCs, where if there is a higher step code used, because that does have a direct impact on the cost of running the building in the long term, the utility bills typically drop. I know BC Housing's talked about this quite a bit, that it is part of their affordability strategy to make sure that the step code is stronger rather than just status quo. So I'm excited to see what the public consultation looks like on this process and this discussion, because I think if we have the buy-in of the industry and our community, that'll make this a lot more functional. I'm also curious, because of the new realities with this digital engagement process, I'm curious to see how the consultation goes forward, whether it's going to go forward regardless, or if it's going to hold off until the lockdown lightens up a little bit. I think there's opportunity right now to engage with the community on a level that in the past has been challenging. We've always talked about issues with people having to work. Being able to watch the video and a full participation like this, I think there's opportunity here to engage really effectively. And I hope that through that, maybe our communications coordinator or the contractor there, I'm not sure what her role is. I'm just curious as to whether she'll be involved in this process to make sure we can replicate and scale these communication strategies.
In response to that, one of the things we're looking at, and there's reports coming up where you'll see we're trying to coordinate how we move forward in this new environment that we are in. And so we're looking at tools on how to engage virtually in the platforms that are on, which we are presenting in the 2 reports coming after this. And so we will look at the same kind of processes with how we would move forward in engagement with this. And we would be working with corporate services and communication in regards to, mutually released communications, like we did with the vision. We worked directly with communications as well as, our consultants. So we were fully coordinated.
Great.
Okay, the mayor, okay.
I think I'm back up again.
Gary, as a suggestion too, it might be easier if you are getting popped in and out, is you can call in to the meetings as well and have a separate sound feed, so that at least you can continue to hear the conversation regardless of the internet connection.
Okay, Cindy, is there a number I should be calling, or am I too late for that?
Good question. I will try to figure it out and let you know right away.
All right, thank you. Okay, any further questions on or concerns regarding Marianne's presentation? Hearing none, I'm going to ask if everybody's in favor, or if
Hello,
there's
Gary.
anyone that...
I'm sorry, Rob here.
Hey,
I have a
Rob.
question. The step code 1, how much different is that than the current building code? Or what level do we need to go to bump up our environmental savings or efficiency?
Marianne, do you care to weigh in?
Yes, Your Worship. Basically, step 1 is more of a lateral move from what was in the building code, but what it brings in is about an education about performance-based building. And part of the process will be that we are looking at incentives to work with builders and developers. Many of our builders and developers are already actually performing to step code 2 and 3 and are very supportive over this. And they recognize the building efficiencies with it and what the cost savings is passed on to the occupants of those units. So the incentives that we're looking at, got partnerships with looking at Fortis. We have Greening City, which we can look for matching and developing partnerships with Fortis and BC Hydro. So there's a bunch of ability for us to help educate and inform and make the process easy for doing the modeling under the energy advisor.
Another question, Gary, is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead, Rob.
Preference, where do you think we should, what would be your ideal mark, where step code 2, step code 3, is that, do you think, where do you think we should end up?
Marianne?
Yes, Your Worship. The recommendation is to start with step code 1. And then as we build the education and the process with the energy advisor, then we would look to moving it to a higher level. And we would do it in consultation with the building industry. But it's recommended by the Energy Council that we actually, start off with step code 1 because there is an education process to it.
Is there, by 2030, Vancouver's going to net zero? Is that step 5?
So in 2022, they're estimating that it needs to be to step code 3. And then from there, they want to get to net zero, which is basically pass house, which is roughly step code 5.
Yeah, okay.
Any further questions, councillors? Okay, I'm going to ask the question then on item 11A1 about this report being received for information. Is there any that are opposed? Hearing none, I will deem that this has been received for information and passed. Someone want to put 11A2 on the table, please?
Yeah, I can. That the Energy Step Code Council be advised of the City of Revelstoke's intention to consult and reference the BC Energy Step Code. Do we need to still sorry, I was just going to ask, do we still need to confirm, though, who's in favor or just who's opposed? We'll just assume everybody else then obviously wasn't in favor.
That's correct.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, thanks, Mike. So any discussion on that motion? Is there any further input, Marianne, that you would like to make on that motion?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, so any councillors have any comments or concerns about that motion? Hearing none, I'm going to ask if everyone's in favor, if there's anyone opposed. Hearing none opposed, I'm going to make that motion, deem it passed. Moving on to item 11A3, Cody?
Yeah, that a public consultation process be commenced for the purpose of receiving input from the community on implementing the BC Energy Step Code in Revelstoke.
Okay, there's a councillor that'd like to second that. Councillor Elliott. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, I'm going to ask if there's anyone opposed to the motion. Hearing none, I'm going to suggest that this motion is now passed. Moving on to 11B, development services. Someone want to put that on the table and then we'll have the presentation.
Sure, yeah, that virtual building inspection policy DS22 be approved based on the financial, staffing, and other resource issues arising from the COVID-19 pandemic for the purpose of providing virtual building inspections.
Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Elliott. Now I'm going to ask Marianne to do her presentation, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this report is before you, so that because staff has been working with how to resolve how we provide building inspections, given that we are a non-health essential service, and how we go about providing those services, given that we have contracted building officials who live outside of the city. And we need to align with the public health requirements that are issued by the province. So what we have done is work together as a team to develop a virtual building inspections policy so that we can address the conditions that are associated with the COVID-19 to carry out our duty to provide non-health essential services as per our government directive. Cities like Kelowna and Vernon are still continuing to do physical building inspections. They have adopted protocols that include social distancing, hand sanitizer, use of gloves, and they're also using virtual technology. And so what we have done is consulted with our building official regards to what makes sense as how we can move forward with the virtual building inspections. We have used them in the past for certain components of inspections, which has been very well accepted within the community for the building inspectors. So what we've done is together a policy which is attached to your report. And basically what we've done is outline the process that we would follow, which is basically that the development services clerks will prepare all the items required for the type of inspection, and we send it to the building official. Then the building official reviews all the documents, and if any documents are missing, the development services clerks works with the building official to inform the applicant of what we require. The building official outlines what details that they will require, photos and measurements and whatever else is required for the virtual inspection to the applicant. And then the development services clerks emails a notice of inspection and what virtual tools are available for their use. You'll notice there's a link to that notification that we provide that gives the applicant a choice of whether it's Zoom or FaceTime, so that they can select what app works best for them. And we set up the inspection and carry it out that way. And during the inspection, the building official will be walked around by the contractor, both on the outside and the inside of the building. And they will identify a list of photos, measurements that they require in order to verify compliance with code. Once that is provided to the building official will go through, make sure it's compliant. And once it's compliant, then we can issue permits. And if it's in the case of an occupancy permit, we are issuing them only as conditional occupancy permits, and that they will have a statement on it that when we can actually do the physical inspection, that we will then do a follow-up physical to ensure that there is compliance, and then we sign off and it'll be a final inspection. So what we have before you today is a recommendation that the virtual, like this policy, be approved, and so that we can provide this service to the community.
Thanks, Marianne. Is there any councillors that have any questions or comments for Ms. Wade? If no one has questions, I'm going to ask the question, is there anyone opposed to passing or approving this virtual building inspection policy? Hearing none, I'm going to deem that this virtual building inspection policy is now approved. We'll move on to 11C. If someone would like to put that on the table, please.
Sure, I can do that.
All right, thanks, Nicole.
That a focus group be created for engagement with the community on the proposed official community plan vision amendments.
Is there a seconder for that motion? Is there a seconder for that motion?
Sure.
Rob?
Yep.
Okay. Rob, if you're not speaking, if you can just mute your mic, please. We're hearing background noises as you move around. So on this, Marianne, do you have a presentation?
Yes, I'll just give you a high-level verbal presentation. This is picking up from when we were at Committee of the Whole. It was February 13th, 2020. And at this meeting, staff was seeking support in regards to how we move forward with the results from our OCP vision check-in. And there was 3 options put forward for consideration. And of that, it was option number 3 to amend the OCP vision and to carry forward with an engagement process. Given this, where we're at with the COVID-19 situation, we've been thinking internally how we can keep this moving ahead to start the engagement that we had indicated we would do in February 13th. So what we have put forward is an option of how we can engage with the community on this and the vision amendments. And so what we have proposed is that we actually would look at doing, first of all, creating a focus group. And what we would do and how we would move forward with it is that, first of all, we would look at a pre-recorded presentation that would outline the results of what we found with the OCP vision check-in process. And we would describe the workbook that participants would use and how to fill it in and how to submit it back to planning. And then this workbook would then request participants of the focus group for input on their preferred vision. And there would be 3 visions in there: 1, keeping it the same; 2, a slight modification of the OCP vision; and 3, a revised OCP vision based on the input that you received in February 13th. We would also ask them if they support the 4 organizing principles that we analyzed as part of our February 13th meeting, which basically said there was 4 theme areas: growth management, natural environment, culture, and community, and get feedback that people are supportive of those 4 organizing principles for the OCP. We would ask the focus group members to watch the presentation, complete the workbook, and return to planning staff by a specific date, either by email or mail. And staff is suggesting that the focus group members include chairs from the APC, Economic Development Committee, Social Economic Committee, Chamber of Commerce, Collective Impact, and Tourism. The focus group members then may choose to discuss the workbook and gather information from their committee members. And if this occurs, the committee chairs would be responsible for bringing all their feedback and submitting it to planning staff, in their workbooks. And once the input is received, it will be analyzed and summarized, and we'd come back to council with a report on where we're at and recommendations. And then this report would recommend, a public hearing for any proposed amendment to the vision statement, which we have to do as per the Local Government Act and our bylaws. And I understand that we still are in the process of working out how we will do public hearings, but that's the process. So the other option that we have put in here for discussion is that we have not, we put together 3 options for consideration, which is option 1, which is the focus group process for input on the vision amendment, which is what I outlined. Option number 2 is we could revise the process for input, and council, may request staff to gather feedback from the public on the vision options through an online survey. And this will potentially increase costs. And then we can also do for option 3, a combined focus group and online survey. We base the cost on what it costs us to do the vision survey, which we received 930 responses on. And that estimated online survey cost was approximately 8,900. And this would increase the timelines as well. So staff is suggesting going with option number 1, because it would allow us to seek engagement with a diverse representation of the community and proceed forward in the most efficient manner. And the objective would be to provide to council a vision amendment recommendation in late spring, depending on how the COVID situation evolves. If council feels that an online survey is required after receipt of the report, council can instruct staff to implement a survey at this time. And the focus group can also provide feedback to assist in identifying if there is any need for online survey to further refine the vision statement. If council supports this, then we would start implementing the process over the spring.
I have a
Great,
comment.
thanks, Marianne. Go ahead, Jackie.
Yeah, so I'm not in support of the focus group. I think it's a bit redundant. I think we've gone to the community and we'd get a lot of similar feedback. I think a survey makes sense if we can make sure it gets to different demographics, which shouldn't be too difficult, hopefully, because we have all the connections in place to be able to, you know, like everybody's digital right now as much as they can be anyways. So it's kind of a good time to be doing that kind of thing. I don't know why the consultant would be paid extra to analyze a survey, which is all done online in seconds by a computer. And I don't think it should cost more than dealing with a focus group, but that's just my opinion.
Can I go, or somebody want to go?
Did you want me to respond to any of that, or?
Sorry.
No, just that's my opinion to council.
I think that we've lost the mayor.
Can I speak then, Ms. Slow?
I'm cutting in and out again, so is there anyone else that has comment?
I would like to, Your Worship.
Okay. Any other councillors have questions or concerns or would like to weigh in on this?
Yeah. Can you hear me, Gary?
Go ahead, I can barely hear you.
Okay. Yeah, kind of echoing what Councillor, sorry, I didn't mean to call you Gary, but Councillor Rind, the focus group, to me, again, it kind of seems redundant to me. I mean, the survey was great results. Obviously, it didn't go as well as we thought in that timeline. We extended it, so it was great to see the 930 people. I have concerns that the same people are going to answer off again. Like, we're going to just hear from the same group of people. I think if we're going to do it, we just need to make the decision here and present. But personally, I think we should actually be delaying this right now. The money, yeah, it's only, you might say only $9,000, but I just don't think this should be a top priority right now for development services. Like Ms. Wade stated, we're still not sure about public hearings and whatnot. I just don't think we should be dishing out this kind of money yet until we at least hear the financial, what would you call it? What's happening with the financials in the city right now, whether or not the money might be allocated in the budgets. We might need to be using that money here. So I'm just not in support of this right now. It's not a no, it's just a not now for me.
Cody, I'm just curious for clarification. Are you suggesting we just put a stop to the OCP process altogether?
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just thinking right now, temporarily, that we need to, I don't think, for me, this is not a top priority for development services. And I would be curious to hear from Ms. Wade. Sorry, I'm not sure that I heard the feedback. I don't know if that was me, but I'm not sure, because we haven't heard from Ms. Wade about how her department is handling everything, whatnot with the speed. Ms. Lowe had kind of mentioned that obviously they're doing the best they can right now with the circumstance, but I just don't know if this is a top priority at this time while this is going on. But for me, the actual top thing is the money, and I'm just concerned right now making decisions about committing to money until we hear from Ms. McCabe and Ms. Lowe, which I believe they said might be in the next 2 weeks. I'm in full support of obviously updating the community plan, but this is just such a unique situation that we're in right now.
Is there any other councillors that have some concern?
I'd like to weigh in on that.
Go ahead, Michael.
Well, to me, the motion as it stands on the table to create the focus group does not incur the extra $8,000 or $9,000 cost. That's only if we go with the other option to go out to a further survey. And to me, the focus group is a good compromise between getting feedback from the community while limiting our financial exposure.
Okay.
as well as the work and staff time, etc., associated with that.
Yeah, so for me with the money, Mike, I understand. Yeah, with the focus group, it's just as well as the staff time. Is this a top priority for staff right now versus permits and whatever else Marianne or Miss Wade and her team are going through? I'm just not sure.
Can I respond?
Yes, you may, Marianne.
Thank you, Your Worship. So first of all, to Councillor Brooks Hill, you're absolutely correct. The whole idea was to try to do this in a most cost-efficient, expedient manner to keep the discussion going. We thought it would be a good news thing considering where the community's at, and be good for the community to see us moving forward, and was something that I think is positive for the community. So the idea was to use a focus group and to use the chairs and be cost effective with it. And our consultant would put together the presentation and the workbook and bring things in, and that's all in the cost that we have in the budget. I outlined the survey in case council was interested in doing a survey so that they would understand that it would be more money, and that isn't what staff is recommending at this time. We feel we can reach out and get a good sense of these vision amendments through the use of a focus group, and it's a cost-effective way for us to manage it at this point in time.
Thanks, Marianne. Anyone else like to comment?
Yeah, so I'm just curious, the cost of doing the focus group at this point is less than just getting feedback through a survey.
Marianne?
As part of how we were going to move out the amendment to the vision, it is in the budget that we've already outlined, and it is part of what is about it. Doing another online survey is an extra cost. That's why we're not recommending it.
Right, but if we did it instead of a focus group, so it's like, you're taking some of the work away and then adding a survey instead, you're saying that that is not an even trade-off?
Ms. Wade?
Yeah, no, it isn't, because the amount of work you generate with doing an online survey and getting back, say if we get back at 930 like we did before, there's cost, and when you take in those surveys, you have to analyze it. And that's what we explained in our February 13th one. And it's a lot of work. And that's why we're not recommended doing that.
But unlike the surveys where we were originally getting information and there was a lot more subjectiveness, I don't know if that's a word, but this is very black or white. It's like, do you like this? Do you not like this? What words would you change? Like, it's 3 questions, is it not?
So in the first survey, we had 4 questions. And in this one, we would have 3 or 4 questions the same. And it's asking people whether they like 1, 2, or 3. And if they don't like it, what are they looking for? So it's both numerous, like in any, and when you do surveys and you're looking, there's different quantitative and qualitative ways and methodologies about going to do it. And they all have different cost ramifications. So as professionals in this field, we were trying to put forward the most cost-effective way to get the best results that we felt, which is a focus group.
Thank you, Ms. Wade. Anyone else?
Gary, can I weigh in?
Yes, please.
Yeah, can I weigh in, please? So I'm fully supportive of the staff's recommendation for the focus group. When we got the report at Committee of the Whole, the impression I got was that the broader survey had been done. It was analyzed. The next step is just to verify some tweaks with a focus group of key stakeholders, especially in this time of COVID when we're all distracted and busy. I think that the chairs and the representation that is listed in the report here will give us a good view from the community's feedback without having to go out to survey and asking a lot of people. We can just ask a few focus people, make sure that we've tightened this up and get the story out, keep it streamlined. I think this makes perfect sense and seems to be going off of what we recommended back at Committee of the Whole. Financially, there's the cost of this, which is already rolled in. I like that it's a consultant that's responsible for most of the work, so it doesn't seem to be the workload being put onto the planning department. And it doesn't engage our entire community right now when everybody is stressed out. It's focusing on the key stakeholders alone. So it hopefully should keep it simple. So like I said, I'm fully supportive of this recommendation.
All right, thanks, Nicole. Anyone else? I'm supportive of this moving forward as well. I think we need to move forward as far as getting the OCP, at least the visioning, done so that we can move through the OCP process. I do understand the concern in the community right now. There's maybe better ways to deal with things, but I think we need to keep moving forward and making a plan to go ahead and deal with some of these OCP things. So I'm supportive of staff with a focus group. Let's at least try that first and then see if we need to do anything else. So is there anyone else that would like to comment? Okay, so I'm going to ask the question, and then because there's some of you that have expressed a view that is not in favor of this, I'm going to actually do a roll call and get response. So Nicole, I see your face is up, so I'm assuming that you're in favor.
Yes, that's correct.
Jackie, your comments, I'm understanding you're not in favor, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm opposed. Thank you.
Okay. Cody, your comments, not in favor, is that correct?
No, I'm opposed.
Okay. Councilor Brooks Hill?
I'm in favor.
Okay. Councilor Elliott?
Sorry, Gary, my mic was on mute there, but just wanted to add some comments there. The vision statement for me is probably the key part that needs to get revised for the OCP. You know, is it more so maybe we need a task force? I mean, get it off the staff's desk and just say, this is a job to get the vision statement done, and just get a group of very keen people or very knowledgeable people in our community that could sort of lead this thing. Is that something we should consider, or even might be an option?
That's what we're voting on, Rob. We're going to focus group, and so we're actually dealing with that right now. So we've discussed it in full. So are you in supportive of the motion to put it through to a focus group?
I am, Gary. Yes.
All right. Thank you. So we've got two opposed for the record, Councillor Rind and Councillor Juncker, and everyone else is in favor. So I'm going to state that this motion is passed. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to the next one, Public Works snow removal update. So I'm going to have someone put that motion on the table, and then we will get the report. Someone want to move that, please?
I can do that.
Mike.
That the snow removal update 2019-2020 season report written by the operations manager dated April 8th, 2020 be received for information.
Is there a seconder for that motion? Is there a seconder for that motion?
Yep, I'll do that.
Okay, so Nicole's seconding it. Darren, do you want to do the report, please?
Yes, thank you. So we just thought we'd bring forward some information on as a very rigorous snow removal season. So we just brought forward some numbers showing some of the background that we do have 24-hour snow removal coverage. We do have a priority system in place. We did bring forward a complete list of shifts and contractors. That's attached as well, showing the snow policy, which we are looking at updating this off season. So I'll be working with Steve on that to be a little more clear on our sort of when do we go more based on volumes, not so much events, but on volumes and where we're going to be a little clearer on that. Traffic and highways bylaw is also attached. We had a total of 440 centimeters this year for a budget of 1.4, almost $1.5 million. We don't have much left for next season, as we can see, in the neighborhood just under $200,000. So we may need some extra funds there given our season for November, December. I guess it just depends how much snow we're going to receive in this upcoming season. So it will be very hard pressed that we will make it under budget for the remainder of the 2020 season.
Great, thanks, Mr. Komanowski. Councilors, any comments, questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Michael.
So the snow removal budget, that number is set based on the previous 5-year average. Is that correct?
Yes, we do. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yes, basically it's set on our previous years and then the amount that we see for centimeters moving forward. Yeah.
So, so essentially, as costs go up, the budget is probably increasing every year. You know, yeah, all the general costs are going up.
Yeah, we obviously work with that with Tanya for fuel, and then our wages are obviously the one big thing too is our internal equipment costs. We're definitely trying to get that caught up. I think we've spoke about that in previous meetings or budget meetings. So that's always a big driver for us too, to make sure that we're incurring our internal equipment costs accurately.
Great, thanks, Mr. Komanowski. Anyone else have a comment? Okay, I'm going to now ask that we receive this for information. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, I deem this received for information. Thank you. We're going to move on to 11E. Someone want to put that motion on the table, please? Someone want to move 11E, please? Rob, go ahead.
Yeah, that the 2020 Pavement Management Program contract be awarded to Tetra Tech EBA in the amount of $97,000, including applicable taxes.
It's actually excluding applicable taxes.
Excluding. Sorry.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Charlotte. Mr. Black, would you like to make a presentation or make any comments on this?
Your Worship, very briefly, yes. As you're aware, earlier this year, we did a presentation for the original pavement maintenance, Sorry. The original pavement maintenance program, which was performed by the same firm a few years back, and which we discussed the funding levels for the pavement. And at which time I did suggest, and with council's approval, that we go back out to the market and get a updated pavement maintenance program to understand where we are currently in the life cycle of the city's roads. So we did budget $100,000 for this program, and we got a number that was slightly over that, but managed to negotiate a contract below the budgeted amount, which council approved in its previous meeting. Therefore, we would like to get this program underway. It is basically a person driving around in a van, taking pictures, measuring the rutting, cracking, rideability of the pavement and curb gutters and sidewalks, so that we'll be able to understand in the future what we need to manage from a priority level of repairs, maintenance, rehabilitation. And the second round will give us some trends on the rates of pavement failure. So we may be lucky enough to have some pavement that's lasting longer than the typical lifespan. So this is a very important study for us in managing the city's roads and curbs, gutters, and sidewalks. Thank you. And it looks like our mayor is missing.
Okay. I have a question, Steve.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. the 97, the 100,000 that we budgeted, did that include taxes or was it excluded?
We are excluded.
Good, thank you.
Any further comments? Hearing none, I'm going to ask if there's anyone opposed to moving forward and awarding the contract. No one opposed, so I'm going to deem this a contract awarded. So we want to move on to item 11F. Someone want to put that motion on the table, please?
Your worship,
Yep, go ahead, Ms. Lowe.
Councillor Yunker, are you there?
Yep.
Okay, we can't see you. I need to be able to see the councillors so I can see if they're there.
I was just transferring, sorry, I was just transferring it to my phone because I have to leave my house. I'm just trying to figure it out. 1 second, sorry.
So the last resolution, was everybody in favor for that? Because I did not hear.
Everyone in favor of awarding the contract to the pavement management program?
Yes.
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 Thank you. So it's carried.
Motion's carried, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on now to item 11F, the Community Emergency Preparedness Fund. Someone want to put that motion on the table, please? Councillor Elliott?
That an application be submitted to the UBCM Community Emergency Preparedness Fund, Emergency Operations Centers and training stream for up to $20,000.
Is there a seconder for that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, Councillor Gillette. Any discussion on the motion?
Did we not just get a grant from $14,000 for the emergency center?
Ms. Lowe, do you want to weigh in at all?
Yep, sure, your worship. This is a resubmission of that grant. Looks like we can apply for additional technical equipment and we don't want to limit ourselves to the 14,000. So it was requested that we put forward a new resolution to council and then we can actually apply for more. So it is the same grant, you're correct, but it's a resubmission for more.
So that understandable to all of council, we're just asking for more money?
We were requested by the grant society to actually redo our grant application to include more.
All right, thank you for that clarification. Any further comments or discussion on this motion?
If there's a need for it.
Say something, Councillor Elliott, were you going to say something?
Yeah, is there a need for $20,000? I mean, we just spending money for the hell of it.
No, there is a need. That's why the grant society suggested that we do more.
Okay, fair enough.
I think we lost the mayor again.
In me, but
Your worship, we can hear you.
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm here. I'm just I'm on the phone connection now. I'm being cut off on the computer, but definitely I would like to know if there's anyone opposed to this motion. Hearing none, I'm going to deem this motion has been passed. So moving on to 12A, correspondence. Someone want to put that motion on the table, please?
I can do that.
All right, thank you.
That the letter from Ms. Sophie Salva dated March 18th, 2020 be referred to the Parking Strategy Project.
Is there a seconder for the motion?
Teresa, please note in the minutes that Councillor Onk is back. Okay.
And yeah, I can second the motion, Gary.
Great, thanks, Jackie. Any discussion on the letter?
Just my comments are that it's great, and I agree. I'm glad that that will be referred to the parking program strategy. That's the one, project strategy. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. It works mobile. Good. I was just questioning the parking strategy. My understanding was, from reading back in minutes when we spoke about that, I think it was late last year, that the plan wasn't for that to be for another 2 years, I believe. Is that correct? Can Ms. Wade just clarify on the parking strategy?
Ms. Wade, you care to weigh in?
If I may, Your Worship, I believe that is a program being managed through the engineering department, and
Okay, thank you.
and we are prepared to move forward with that in conjunction with the OCP update and all the other pieces of the puzzle that are on the table.
Thank you.
Okay, so any further comments on the letter? Okay, hearing. Go ahead, Councilor
Yeah,
Ryan.
sorry. I'm just wondering, should we put a motion on the table if we're all in favor of this, so that when it does come to time to discuss the parking strategy, they know that we're behind this particular suggestion?
Ms. Lowe, you want to weigh in? I think just by referring this should be enough.
Yes, that's correct, Your Worship.
Okay, so there will be some action taken when this is getting considered?
That's correct.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to any further discussion before we move on?
Just a quick caution there. I guess the hotel right next to it is no parking as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's in front of the hotel. This is in front of the physician's office.
Yeah, so basically it just eliminates this parking on that side of the street. Public parking.
Well, I think they're asking for handicap parking.
Yes.
Because it's needed and required.
Oh, yeah. I just think it's part of the whole parking strategy. I think it's just, there's no need to isolate it. The whole thing needs to be addressed.
Yep, correct. Any further comments on the letter? Okay, anyone opposed to referring this to the strategy? I deem this motion passed. We'll put it onto the parking strategy project. Moving on to communications, 13A, Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and this is dealing with the arena roof. So is there any staff that want to weigh in on this letter?
Your Worship, what were you looking for exactly? Did you want to discuss?
I just want to know if there's any clarification or anything that you feel is necessary, or are we okay with just receiving the letter?
That would be a council decision. Does council want to hear anything more? That you can summarize the letter.
Okay, so the letter basically states that we are not getting the grant that we applied for the arena roof, and that there may be further funding streams as we move along, and it's been oversubscribed too. Any further clarification? Okay, hearing none, I think we'll leave this letter. I think it's been stated clearly in the letter as to what we're up against. So thank you on that.
Well, what's our game plan going forward? I guess we're at this point taking the debt out, and we'll revise that when it comes time to take the loan out.
So do we want to just talk about what we passed in the financial plan? Ms. McCabe?
Yeah, the current financial plan does not include the grant revenue in it. We assumed when we did the financial plan that we would not get the grant. And so the current financial plan has already accounted for this outcome.
Okay. Does that clarify things for you, Councillor Ryan?
Sure. I'm thinking the public was probably going to be curious to know, like, have we made up our mind in terms of what is going to happen with that roof? And I guess the answer is that we're not there yet because we haven't necessarily taken out the loan.
No, we talked about putting it into play, I believe, in 2021. And Ms. McCabe, you may correct me if I'm erring on that, and that we would discuss it moving forward depending on where we were with the grant process and the possibility of reapplying if there another grant funding stream came forward.
Okay, so for those of the public who are interested, the next time that they'll be hearing about this, like, is there going to be a consultation? You mentioned in the report that if there might be some, I forget what the terminology is, but some voting piece, which could mean that it doesn't get approved. So I'm just curious when we make a decision on this.
Ms. McCabe or Ms. Lowe, do you care to weigh in?
Okay, through your worship, the alternative approval process, I believe, is what Councillor Ryan is referring to. And
Yeah, that's it.
That would be done at the time that we go to borrow the money. The alternate approval process is for the borrowing of the money, though. It's not for the actual capital expenditure, obviously. So yeah, but that would be in when we go to borrow the money, which would be 2021 or later, depending on what the timelines look like.
Right. And is there any value in having discussion with the public in terms of what the other options would be now that we know we're not getting this grant funding, or have we been there, done that, in your opinion?
I would say that I leave it to Ms. Donato as to whether there's other grants that may be applied for. If there's opportunities for that, we would do that. Otherwise, borrowing money to pay for this is the other option.
Ms. Donato, do you want to weigh in at all?
Sure, Your Worship. Can you hear me?
Yes, clearly.
Okay, I'm having trouble hearing. You guys are going in and out. So in the financial plan, we have budgeted for the roof replacement. If council wishes to pursue other avenues, they could direct staff to do that as well. But moving forward, I think we've got it in the financial plan now. Our next step would be to prepare the design drawings for the roof replacement so that if other grant opportunities do come up, that we're ready to move forward with those applications as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Any further discussion? I think Ms. Donato and her staff have it well in hand as far as how we move forward on this. So I just will receive this letter and trust that we'll do the appropriate thing as we move forward.
Your Worship,
Yes, go ahead, please, Ms. Lowe.
is Councillor Juncker there?
Councillor Juncker, are you on?
Yeah, sorry, I was on helping somebody. I'm at work. Sorry, I'm double tasking here.
Okay,
He's here, Ms. Lowe.
Can we do any votes that Councillor Juncker is at the table so that we can?
Yeah, sorry, I was just on the phone.
Okay.
Okay, so do we need to vote on this, or we're okay with just accepting this?
Your Worship, it's fine with just having it on the agenda. It was for communication purposes.
Great, thank you. All right, we're going to move on to 13B, UBCM, the response to our resolutions. And so any comments on those resolutions?
I wouldn't mind commenting on that, Your Worship.
All right, go ahead, Councillor.
Yeah, I was reading this as well as some of the other responses from the province. I was really happy to see the responses that we got at the time, and especially some of the discussion that's going on around guaranteed basic income now, especially with COVID. I think there's some real opportunity there to do some better work for our communities. So I'm excited to see all of those responses, and I encourage anybody watching to go and find the full resolution package and take a look at some of the responses on key topics. I think the direction we're going is a really strong one.
Great, thank you. Any further comments? Okay, so I think we're going to move on. I'd like to get a motion to move in camera pursuant to section 90.1 G and K of the Community Charter. Someone want to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Let's try that again. One at a time.
Jackie.
Jackie's moving it. Second.
Mike.
Mike seconding. Okay, we're going to go in camera. We'll just take a couple minute break.